So, good morning. Good morning. I am Chaplain Felicia Anderson, and I am here with you just to do some Q&A, talk about what the Ahmaud Butler Foundation, the Compassionate Care Division, is interested in doing and expanding our division. And I'm here today with Anna, who helps me administratively to build. We are trying to implement different things for compassionate care. And then I have Chaplain Franklin here, and he is a co-host of our monthly podcast. So what I would like to do, since it's the three of us, is just take some time for everyone to introduce themselves. So Anna, how about you begin?
Good morning. My name is Annalisa, and I'm a current volunteer for the Compassionate Care Division for Ahmaud Butler Foundation. It's a pleasure being here.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much for being here. So this is going to be great. And we have Chaplain Franklin.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Chaplain Franklin, and it is my joy to be here today to become more aware of the services that we want to provide and the help that we want to provide, and just hoping that we can be a blessing.
Nice. Thank
to
you.
families and whoever we may be working with. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, my name is Felicia Anderson, and I am, along with being the director for compassionate care with the Ahmaud Butler Foundation, I also am an ordained chaplain. I am also a humanist chaplain, as well as licensed. And I just want to quickly tell you the mission statement of the Ahmaud Butler Foundation. It says, "We are a diverse group of humanitarians who understand the devastation of childhood cancer and other life-threatening childhood diseases. How these diseases severely impact the entire family, and the feeling of helplessness and hopelessness families are forced to live with once their child is diagnosed. It is our promise to fight alongside these brave children and their families. It is our purpose to hold up the family leaders by providing direction, aid, and the tools needed to help them endure this horrid life storm. It is our promise that these families will never sit alone. They will never stand alone. They will never fight alone." So I want to talk about how we can expand the compassionate care team and exactly what that means, because we are looking for volunteers. We're looking for people who are going to be enthusiastic to help us build this division so that we can help families. So what are some of the areas of help? We need people who can virtually help families, telephone conversations, pray with them if they're religious. And the one good thing I do want to say is that depending on, so when the families come to compassionate care, they're going to complete a form, a compassionate care form, so that we can best match them up with a volunteer or chaplain that will best suit, their comfortability and create a safe space for them to heal as they're going through this, supporting their family member area. So what does it look like? A family says that, I really do need to talk. I'm feeling, a bit lethargic about life. I feel beat up. I feel discouraged, and I am not a religious person, but I do want to have a conversation with someone. We would then pair that family up with a volunteer who could help meet them right at their need. If the family is religious, they would state that, and we would do the same thing. We would do our very best to pair them up with someone who can meet them right at their need. So you have those telephone conversations. We have the monthly podcast. So we're looking for people to join us every month on our panel discussions where we're discussing different topics. And so we're also looking for volunteers who are interested in writing a monthly newsletter or even a weekly newsletter, and different areas of encouragement. The whole purpose of the Compassionate Care Division is to do just that: provide compassionate care to families, to siblings, to family members, anyone who is attached to the patient. We want to provide them with the help, the support, and resources that they may need to help them be emotionally well as they journey through this. So Anna and I have been working together, and what we are doing is we're building, we're hoping to build partnerships with community centers, transitional homes, maybe different hospitals, medical organizations where children will be who are fighting cancer or either a life-threatening illness. And what we're hoping is that our volunteers will help to partner with those organizations to go in to see how we can be a help to the families and even bring some joy to the patients. We're not looking to replace anyone. One of the concerns that came about was that most hospitals already have chaplains, and that's fine. We're not looking to replace any existing chaplains. We really just want to come in and be a help and be just to be a help to families who may need encouragement. I would like for Anna, if you could, just to lend your voice to this, because I know you're actually going to be doing this.
Yeah, and like what Chaplain Anderson said, sometimes the siblings of uh, patients with life-threatening conditions also suffer. We neglect the fact that they are children too, and their coping mechanisms may not be that strong. So we will be able to support them at, at a level that, like children can understand.
So volunteers would be virtual. Right now, we're not doing home visits. It will be virtual. The only part of your volunteerism, if you're interested, that would be in person would be if we're visiting the hospitals and we have already received approval from the hospitals to come, or some type of facility where the patient would be, and then they would designate and approve an area for us to to color, to read, to pray, maybe just to meditate with them, whatever help whatever compassionate care we really can provide. And so that would be really the scope of your in-person. Right now, we are not approving any of our volunteers, our future volunteers, to go into anyone's home. There's a lot of logistics that go with that and a lot of legality that we would need to really comb through before we would send anyone into someone's personal dwelling. So virtual could even be Zoom, maybe because this is a way to be more personal with families that might require that. And really, we're asking the families, what kind of help do you want? If they say, well, I really would like to have just a conversation from time to time, then we would pair them up with a volunteer or chaplain that best suits their needs. They would be scheduled for a telephone call or a Zoom at a certain time, and then you would link up and you would have those private conversations, those healing sessions, those compassionate care sessions with the families, just to encourage them where they are. And we're not diagnosing, so I do want to make that very clear. No volunteer that will be volunteer or chaplain that is on the compassionate care team, even if that is what you do, even if that is your profession, in this form, we're not diagnosing, we're not acting as doctors, nor are we taking the place of anyone's physician or medical care team. We are here to provide practical, emotional well-being to families that are in need. At this juncture, the volunteers who are coming in, we're not requiring that you volunteer a mandatory number of hours. It really is just based on your time, because we want people who are tied to, who have a heart really to serve. This is not employment. This is volunteerism. So if you have a heart to serve as an ABF chaplain or that would be religious or non-religious. Or if you don't want the title of chaplain, that's fine. You can just volunteer your skill set that will help to that will help families in that regard. So the volunteers, you will determine how many hours is conducive for your schedule. The one thing we ask is that if you save 5 hours a month, that you actually give us, you lend those 5 hours. Of course, life gets in the way, things happen, but so maybe one month you can't do 5. Also, your volunteer hours do not roll over. So for instance, if you have 5 hours in November, but you don't use them for some reason, they don't roll over to December and now you have 10, and then you get to January and you have 15. It doesn't work like that. You let us know how many hours per month you can volunteer, and we are going to be asking you, what kind of volunteerism are you comfortable with? Are you comfortable with talking with families? Are you comfortable with going to inside of your community and building partnerships with hospitals, transitional homes, family shelters, specifically with this demographic? And that would be helping families who have children with cancer or other life-threatening diseases. That is the scope of ABF. And so that is what we want to stick with, because those are our marching orders. So we definitely want to honor that. Outside of that, if you say, yep, I would love to do it. I would love to write a weekly column. I would love to help promote it on social media. I would love to be a part of the monthly panel discussion. If that's the case, then we have a person on our chaplaincy team who will then assign you to a topic that you will discuss with the panel once a month. And that panel discussion, it is and everyone has a topic that is assigned to them so that the conversation can be fluid. You do not have to be on camera. If you're not comfortable, you can lend your voice. And I make the video, I do the editing, and then I send it to YouTube and to ABF's social media platforms. And we would be asking for all of the volunteers, whether you're on the panel or not, to please at least share the videos and share the monthly or weekly newsletter. Now, what if you are a volunteer and you're going into a hospital because you have, you went to a hospital or a homeless shelter, a family life center. They're called different things in different people's municipalities. But you go there and they say, yes, sure, you can come in and you can volunteer, however much you want. The 5 hours that you have given to ABF, you can use. So say if you say 5 hours, you can give your 5 hours to this location. The only thing we're going to ask is that as you go, you get them to sign. We'll give you a form, and that form will prove that you excuse me, are there and that you've done your time. It would be nice if you're volunteering 5 hours that you not do it all in one visit. But, so maybe you might do an hour and a half, it might go to 2, but we ask that you not do a marathon on one day. This way you can go back throughout the month with however many hours you have volunteered for. Volunteers who come on, you will receive training. It is important whether or not you're going to do the chaplaincy training with ABF. And when I say chaplaincy training, I do want to make it clear that this is not a certification that you will be a chaplain. That's something that you actually would have to go to school and be licensed and trained, ordained, if that's your route to be a full-fledged chaplain. But for ABF, their chaplains would be trained in really, I would say, practical care, how to have conversations with people who are grieving, how to help people who who may, now I'm going to let Chaplain Franklin briefly just discuss this, because when you are having conversations with families, and this would be whether for the chaplain or even for the ABF volunteer who doesn't want to identify as a chaplain, that's fine. Your training is still going to be the same. So what's the difference if the training is the same? The chaplain is going to receive, well, I shouldn't say it's the same, but the chaplain is going to receive just a little bit more than your practical volunteer, especially in the areas of how to have healthy conversations with people who are really grieving, that we're mindful of the language that we use, the terminologies that we use. And sometimes in those conversations, you have areas where sometimes the family may have other underlying issues. Let's say, and I'm bringing this up because Chaplain Franklin mentioned it in our last panel discussion, that when you are grieving, some of the easiest things to do is to turn to alcohol, turn to things that aren't so healthy to cope. And it's natural for us to want to find an outlet. And sometimes in these conversations, whether you are an ABF chaplain or a licensed and ordained chaplain, because or you're a volunteer, sometimes these things come up in conversations, and you have to know how to handle those conversations gently. And we don't want to force anyone to have conversations beyond where they're comfortable. So this is why we want to pair up families with the right volunteer and or chaplain that will best help them. So Chaplain Franklin, I'm going to ask you in just a few minutes, if you could, maybe 2 or 3 minutes for purposes of time, if you could give an example of how a volunteer or a chaplain would help. What type of an advice would that person give if a family member who they're counseling virtually via a Zoom or on a telephone call, or maybe even in person at an authorized facility, if the parent or guardian said, as a result of this, I've started back using? How, and your expertise, can you let us know how we would gracefully handle that in a few minutes?
Okay, thank you. I would think that the first thing that that should be done is gently try to ascertain the depth of the problem, the extent of the problem, I mean, and also at the same time, be mindful of the fact that this person obviously has begun to do this as a way of coping with the trauma that they've been dealing with. It is important, I think, for you to gently give some ideas, some suggestions about what they can do, how they can do it, and also be real clear about that you will walk them through it if they need you to. But I think the one thing that I believe that we always need to do is not try to alienate the person, try not to talk to them in such a way that they feel that they harm somebody or that they are harming themselves, but be very careful that your job is to help. Your job is to help, not to label, and you are there to try to bring some relief to the situation and not add to it. And I think that's the most important thing that we can do, or that person can do.
Thank you. Thank you. And one thing I do want to note is that in your training, I'm sorry, I have a bit of a cough. I hope I'm not about to get sick, but in your training with ABF, it's going to be a standard 5 hours, but the longer you stay with ABF, we're hoping that volunteers will come in, and I'm going to segue from, I'm going to piggyback on what Chaplain Franklin said, but I just want to make it clear that the basic training is going to be 5 hours. Within that 5 hours, we're going to have different scenarios where those who are volunteer ABF chaplains, or those who are, I'll say practical care volunteers, where we'll have certain scenarios, because conversations do lead to other things. And as you're building a relationship with the family or with a person inside of that family, they begin to open up. You become their confidant. You become their priest. You become the friend that didn't betray them. We don't know where a conversation can lead, but we want to make ourselves available to journey with them as we're able. And so if someone is mentioning something in a conversation that you don't feel comfortable with discussing, like Chaplain Franklin said, you want to encourage them. One, with this, you might ask them, do you have a sponsor? Do you have someone in your family who you can speak with? You want to tell them, have you considered seeking help for this, professional help? And if they say, no, 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 because, sometimes they might get defensive, we will help you navigate through that. Now, of course, your 5 hours of training will not equip anyone fully for every situation. But we will give you some tools and some resources where you can be a help to persons who are in need of it. And I like to use this example. The same way when you go to your PCP, when you go to your primary care physician, if in that appointment you find out that you have something going on with your heart, your doctor gives you a referral. It doesn't make your doctor any less of a doctor because they're referring you to a cardiologist. It means that I have given you what I can with my skill set, and now I am going to refer you to someone else. We're going to train you to do a similar thing. So let's say if you decide that you want to volunteer as an ABF chaplain or as a practical care volunteer, and something like that or something else comes up. Now the marriage is falling apart because of what has happened. Maybe they're talking about divorce. They don't know anything. Because I'm assuming that the situation with their children can really it can test a relationship. And so now the person who you're talking to, the husband, wife, guardian, whoever it is, now they're having a conversation with you and it comes up because you're the only person in this and right now in this season that they feel like is non-biased. It's a neutral conversation. They want to talk to you about it. Listen, be loving, and be caring. These will be situations that you will receive training with. Now, the longer that you are with ABF, so the hope is that even if you're only able to volunteer for 5 hours, that you would say, we want to volunteer for 5 hours over the next 4 months. Because what's going to happen is there are leadership developments that are going to be required for every volunteer, so we can check in with you. Because as you're helping other families, you're also adding in stress to your life. You're carrying the burdens of other people. And sometimes those feelings don't end when you click off the phone, or if a person is only comfortable with texting. Your conversation with a person might be through text or Zoom. However it is, we want to know that you're okay. So the journey of being an ABF volunteer or chaplain is going to be one that is so rewarding. At the end of your 5 hours of training, you are going to get a certificate that you have completed the training. And again, there will be leadership developments along the way the longer you stay with us. But we're hoping that as an ABF volunteer or chaplain, that if you're one who wants to go and scout out an organization, a medical facility, a family life center, that you build relationships with them and color with the children, because sometimes you have siblings who go through things because the family is spending all of their time on the child who's been diagnosed. And so we want to pay extra attention to that child, so it's a host of things. And I hope that I've answered some of the questions that I kind of assumed I might receive, or given you some scenarios that you might encounter.
Yeah, so this is going to be a very rewarding experience for all of us, and will also be impactful for us as individuals. It will help us grow as a mom, as a daughter or a friend. So it will help us grow in many levels. I guess my question at this point is, when do you anticipate training, and what like time uh, or day would you do the training?
Yes. So, um, the training, our first training session, will be in December. Will be in December. It will be on the Saturday, so maybe around this time. It will not be 1 5-hour training. I'm thinking that, ideally, I would like to talk to the volunteers to see what works for them. So if we want to do, three 1 hour sessions on Saturday, and then 2 hours, I can do a pre-recorded, um, message or training that they can just click in and listen to. And then throughout the pre-recorded, um, trainings, how we will know they listened is because throughout that training, I will ask questions and they will have to answer those questions. So there will be a little homework attached to the volunteers or ABF chaplains who, are not able to participate like we are now. It will be on Zoom, and we're looking to start in December. Yeah.
Okay. Would there be a separate training for the chaplaincy division versus the non-religious volunteers?
No, so the training will be the same, except for those who are more interested in being ABF chaplains. They probably, well, not probably, they will receive emailed literature that will go more in depth on how to handle certain topics and certain situations. And by appointment, if need be, then we would meet with them. And the one thing is, because some people really do have a heart for chaplaincy, whether it is religious or non-religious, and some people have found, the profession or the ministry of, or the service of chaplaincy to be very rewarding. And so if someone is interested in that beyond, beyond this forum, that is also a possibility. But the training on Zoom would be the same, but the ABF chaplains would receive more in-depth, pre-recorded videos and or literature sent to them via email. Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
Yep. Any other questions? Bring them
who
on.
they contact in case they're feeling committed to this?
You said, who would they contact?
Yes.
If whoever would watch this video, really please consider Search Your Heart to help us build this division. We really want to build a compassionate care team that brings new ideas, different ways that we can virtually, help families grow, and heal, and know that there is someone who really cares about them, that they don't have to fight alone. That's very important, that you have a heart to serve. Now, there's one thing that that's coming to memory, is that every volunteer is vetted. You will have to complete a criminal background check before you are allowed to serve anyone to volunteer. Because we're talking about the vulnerable community. So some might say, well, why do I need to do that if it's virtual? Well, it's virtual now, but even in conversations, we need to really make sure that we're protecting families, that, from any potential harm.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your wonderful thoughts. This is again is going to be a great opportunity, especially for like students or clinicians. Can be used as volunteer hours as well, for those needing volunteer hours commitment. So I'm looking forward to working with you, Chaplain Anderson and Chaplain Franklin.
So in all things, we wish everyone grace and peace. We wish you tranquility and healing in every step of your journey. And we want for your hearts to be open, that you would come and join our compassionate care team. Yeah, come join us. So everyone, have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.